Okay. But test. D. How many of you get a D? You wouldn't get in Hong Kong U with a D. Okay? So my marks weren't that good. Okay? There's just some evidence. Just give you some facts. Okay? It wasn't that I was unlucky. That was how good I was at that time. I wasn't special. And so we have science, and again we get a B there. Okay? So there's some evidence. I just want to show you. All right, here's some photos of me. But 1983, I loved running. Okay, I started running when I was about 15. So I do a lot of long distance running. That actually helped me build up my, build up my confidence, because I dropped out of school when I was 15. All right? Running helped me. My brother, he was a 5,000 metre champion in Victoria, under 16, back then too. Oh, that's me there. My sister, my two brothers, and that's working in a packing shed, 1985. Here's my first job. Here's my first job. I was 15 years old, and I got a job as a junior clerical stores person. What is that? Well, you fill up the cars, come in here, and you fill them up with petrol. You climb up here and you fill up the petrol tanker before it goes out. Or the big petrol tanker comes in, you connect it up, and you fill up these here. Now, have a look. See that? Oh, by the way, last week I went back to Mildura and I took this photo. Okay, I took this photo. This was taken last week. So it's a little bit more modern than what it was at the time. Okay, they didn't have this flash office here. Okay, and there weren't so many railings up here to protect you from falling. Okay, all right, it's all safety these days. Now, see that white pipe here? Okay, there was one job I had to do. And that is I had to empty rail tankers. Okay, all right, and they either went into those pipes or went into those pipes. So that's on the side of the fuel station. See this pipe here? Okay, back 20 years ago when I started, there was a pipe that went in this end and there's a pipe at the other end, and it's two tanks joined together. Okay, so you've got 5,000 litres on this side, 5,000 litres on the other side. Okay, and one day when I went to work, this was 1981, me and my partner, we had to undo the tap at the bottom of the tank. Now the tap's at the top because of the incident that I caused. Let me explain the incident. But this red pipe would go around the side here and go in the bottom, and so you connect up to the petrol tanker, then you start to pump, and you remember the pump, it takes 1 hour to fill that whole tank. Okay, 10,000 litres. So the pump is very, very fast. Okay, you're talking 4 inches of petrol. Okay, it's very, very fast. And so I opened this tap at this end. Okay, you open the tap, and I thought my partner was going to open the tap at the other end of the pipe, but he didn't do it. Okay, and so I came back from lunch and find out the heating oil that we were pumping in was gushing out the top. Okay, because it should have been going into both sides. One side was closed, so the other side filled twice as quickly and started coming out the top. And then I got the blame. And 1 hour later I was sacked. Okay? And that was probably the best firing that happened to my whole life. You see, I could have been there today looking after the tankers and trucks coming in, filling up the petrol and all that. I could still be there. I could be the factory foreman looking after the petrol station. Okay? And I would never have come to this place here. Okay? So I look back and I think, wow, that was the greatest day of my life. That was the greatest thing that happened to me. But at the time, do you think I felt that way? No, not at all. That was the last thing I thought of. I felt so sad and just angry at my co-worker because he didn't take the blame. Okay. So now, after that incident, they cut the pipe off here, and now they have it going at the top, and they have one tap here. So that will no longer happen again. Okay, you see. All right. So it's very interesting how they fix. Okay, my second job, insurance and investment salesman. Wow, I thought, okay, I love money, but there was a friend of my dad had this insurance business, and so he gave me a job on the same day. So I was very lucky. But what happened with this? Well, I worked long hours, listened to many motivational tapes, including The Stranger's Secret. More about that in a minute. But what happened? Well, I failed too, because less than 2 years later, I hadn't sold any insurance in 2 years. So I'm doing very, very well. This is my second job now. The first job, I spilled all this petrol. The second job, insurance salesman. I didn't sell any insurance. Wow, doing very, very well. So here's the building where I worked in. This is in Mildura, because I went back last week and I took a photo of that building, and we'd go in the stairwell here and we worked up the back here. Okay, so this is in Mildura, the main street. Okay, what about, so then, but very fortunately, because the owners of the insurance company, they were friends of my family and all of that, and so they gave me some friendly advice. It wasn't that you're fired, we're not going to help. They just said, look, Neale, your future is not here. Okay, probably the same, right? It's the same thing. Your future is not here. So what do? They said, look, Neale, maybe recession, you go back to study. I said, well, I can't, because I dropped out of middle school, dropped out of first year of high school, senior high, right? I can't go to university. So what do? Well, I go and do a diploma, 83, 84, went to Sunrise Institute of TAFE, and it was very hard during that time, but I ended up getting the Best Business School Student Award for both years, had the chance to practice public speaking in the English class. Remember, I got a D for English, okay, D. My dad had a major operation. That was great inspiration for me to try harder at that time too. Okay, so there's always things that spur you on a little bit. So I'm very grateful for that. Mum and Dad supporting me and all that time. But they never ever said you need to go to university. They never ever expected us to go to university. And it was at this time that I went to Ballarat University in 1985, and that's where, you see, my brother was 3 years younger than me, so by the time I got into Ballarat, he was in the same with me. Because some of you hear me talk about me and my brother, we're in the same class. And can you see that I lost 2 opportunities and now I've thought that, okay, this is my last chance. See, I failed filling up petrol. I failed with insurance. So becoming an accountant, that's my last chance. My very last chance. So I wanted to try very, very hard. So I went to university and they said, well, if you want to be successful in university, you should read the textbooks before you go to the lecture. You should do this, you should do that. And the law professor suggested, okay, you should memorise all the cases before the exam. So what did I do? I memorised all the cases. I just did what they told me to do because I just didn't want to fail the 3rd time. And so where are those case books? You have those case books. So here are the case books, okay? They're the case books, thank you, that I filled out when I was studying law. So the BBA laws here, you've got contract law, there's company law, there's all of those cases. Because in the exam, you couldn't take the cases into the exam. Okay? And every night I would fill it out. And very little writing, have a look at that. Look at the small writing. Okay? And I'd have the name of the case or the principal, what happened, and then the principal. Okay, for every case, 1 page per case, all the way through like that. Okay, see the little writing? You can pass it around so you can see the writing. Okay, so that's just evidence of how committed I was. I didn't want to fail the 3rd time. Okay, so I ended up, I don't know how I did it, I got the best graduating student with an economics major. So I majored in economics and accounting. But that wasn't my aim. I just wanted to pass. Okay, I just didn't want to fail. Okay. It was never about getting an A. My first law course, I got 46 and a half. Okay, and the professor said to me, well, by rights, you should fail. Okay, because if you get less than 50, you fail in Australia. Okay, but he said, I like your attitude, so I'm going to let you through. Okay, and so it was just a real blessing to me that that professor let me through, because after that I tried even harder. And so I was very lucky. So I got very close to failing many, many times. And now, interview success. There's a lot of people coming here, how do you do a good interview? There's no one way of doing a good interview. You just got to do it 1,000 times. I tell my students, how do you be a good presenter? You do it 1,000 times. That's the only way. There's no shortcut to success when it comes to doing something perfectly. So I got 22 rejections before my accounting job offer. You see, when I graduated in 1987, I went on the job market. How many of you are going to job market next year? Year after that? You're going to go in the job market sometime. Okay? So, how many jobs are you going to interview for before you give up? Maybe 1,000. Yeah. You just keep trying till you get the job. Okay, that's what you learn. It took me 22. Okay, so I interviewed with Arthur Anderson, I interviewed with Coopers and Lybrand. Okay, Coopers and Lybrand, part of PCCWP PwC now, okay, and Arthur Andersen is now no longer exist, okay, but I also interviewed with Arthur Young and Deloitte and Tooch Ross, now Deloitte and Tooch. It was a big 8 at that time, now it's a big 4. Okay? So I interviewed with all of them. Coopers and Lybrand gave me a second interview, Arthur Andersen gave me a second interview, but I didn't get a job. I got a job from Manjab Chartered Accountants. Research your employer, know what you do beyond the position you're interviewing for. Look, this may take time. It took me 4 jobs. By the time I got to the graduating from college, I already worked in a petrol station, I tried insurance, and by then I had some idea, okay, I think I can be a bit more focused on what I want to do. But that wasn't enough. What can you do in an interview? When you go to an interview,